Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now begin the signing of agreements.
Mr. Arul, can you please state it clearly that our government Ministry of Finance paid the rest of 4.94 billions for this Bandar Malaysia, and only 12.35 billion was paid by IWH and CREC? Thank you.
I think maybe you were not clear about the transaction today. Today, 1MDB is selling a 60% stake in Bandar Malaysia Sdn Bhd, which is 1MDB subsidiary. So 1MDB continues to own the 40% stake, but clearly 1MDB is 100% owned by the Ministry of Finance. Now, the valuation for the entire Bandar Malaysia land is 12.35 billion, and the 60% which is being purchased by the IWH CREC Consortium is valued at 7.41 billion, which is 60% of 12.35 billion.
I just want to ask you about the valuation, which is 12.35 billion. Is it inclusive of cost of relocating the Sungai Besi Air Force Base? And if so, how much is it?
So the winning consortium, together with the existing shareholder, will assume the remainder obligations of Bandar Malaysia Sdn Bhd, which includes the PUKL relocation, so Pangkalan Udara Kuala Lumpur. As you know, that project in total has a cost of 2.7 billion ringgit in its entirety, and the remainder cost will be assumed by the entity as it goes forward, so by the Bandar Malaysia Project Development Company. There is also a sukuk of notional value 2.4 billion ringgit. That sukuk will also be assumed by the Project Development Company.
Hi, can you state how much is the book value of the land for the latest financial year, and also how much debt is attached to the land?
The book value of Bandar Malaysia Sdn Bhd per the last publicly available accounts, which is 31st March 2014, is it's actually not broken down in the accounts, but I can tell you it is in fact 4.2 billion ringgit. 4.2 billion ringgit. So we are now selling at a land valuation of 12.35 billion ringgit. So the debt is the sukuk, Bandar Malaysia Sdn Bhd sukuk, which has a notional value at maturity of 2.4 billion ringgit. The current accrued value of that debt, so the value reflected on our books, is 1.63 billion ringgit. Could we focus the questions on the actual deal today rather than on the 1MDB side, if you don't mind? So we have always stated that our view of the total value of Bandar Malaysia, or rather our target value, is 11 to 12 billion ringgit. So we have now achieved 12.35 billion ringgit. So we have exceeded our expectations in terms of the target value for the rationalization plan.
Hi, Ben from The Edge. I just want to clarify that Ministry of Finance is not putting in any more money into the SPV.
So 1MDB is the owner of the 40% stake.
This stake will stay with 1MDB? It won't be transferred to MOF?
As part of the rationalization plan, there is a consideration for transferring that 40% stake ownership to the Ministry of Finance. At the moment, no final decision has been made. However, it is an option as envisaged under the rationalization plan, which was announced in June 2015.
So there is a chance that MOF will have to pay for that 40% stake to 1MDB, is that right?
At the present moment in time, there has been no decision on the transfer of the 40% stake or not.
With this purchase, what are your plans for Bandar Malaysia?
I think today we are very happy together with CREC being chosen, the consortium being chosen as a bidder and winner of this 60%. And we will definitely be implementing this Bandar Malaysia with the government vision, which master plan has been approved. And our business model, as usual, you have seen how we do Iskandar Malaysia Waterfront City. We will bring in some world-renowned developer on the key, very important project, high-impact project that need to be implemented, that will partner us. And we will also bring in the local developer and GLCs to partner together with us. So we, as a master developer, we implement the project in stages.
What left with the asset and also liability of 1MDB after the rationalization plan completed today?
So as you know, when we announced in June 2015 the rationalization plan for 1MDB, it had three major components, right? So the first component was a debt for asset swap with IPIC. We have executed the binding term sheet. IPIC has started paying the interest on the two IPIC guaranteed bonds, and that transaction value is approximately 16 billion ringgit. In November this year, we executed a sale and purchase agreement for the second component, which is a sale of EDRA Energy, for which the cash equity plus debt transfer is approximately 17.3 billion ringgit. And now, on the last day of the year, so the end of the 6-month period that was promised by the Honourable Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Sri Najib, we have achieved the final piece of the puzzle, which is the monetization of our stake in Bandar Malaysia, with the total value in terms of debt reduction, whether upfront or over time, of up to 12.35 billion ringgit.
7.4 billion, is it all going to be cash? When do you expect the money?
So we have received, or we will receive, after signing this sale and purchase agreement, we will receive a deposit of 10%, which is 741 million ringgit. In terms of the balance payment, that is one of the items to be discussed as part of the completion process, whether it is upfront cash or on a deferred payment basis. We want to have that option as 1MDB in order to better manage our cash flows and our debt obligations.
You mentioned earlier that the government may have to pay consideration to 1MDB for the 40% stake.
I didn't mention that. You mentioned that in your question.
You said
please do not put words into my mouth.
You said they may is being discussed, and they will have, they may have to give consideration for the 40%. Why should the government give consideration for the 40% when it already owns that 40%?
Again, I think you have made an assumption and asked a question based on that assumption, so I cannot answer an assumption on an assumption.
I would like your comment on the possibility of China being in the high-speed rail project, given that Bandar Malaysia is the starting point and Iskandar is basically the end point of this project. Will China get a leg up in that then?
So the Bandar Malaysia project is the terminus, or it has been designated as the terminus for the high-speed rail. There is no link between Bandar Malaysia, the company, and HSR Co, which is a separate company that is looking at the feasibility and implementation of the high-speed rail. So the decision of the partners to participate in this transaction is purely on the attractiveness of developing Bandar Malaysia as a transport-oriented development with the high-speed rail terminus, ERL connections, BRT, bus rapid transit, KTM commuter, and of course MRT line 2, which is already confirmed, and inshallah later the next MRT line. So it is that opportunity which has attracted the development partners onto this project, which is the only large piece of land in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, so close to the city centre.
Sorry,
so just before that,
sorry,
I think one point which I didn't highlight earlier is if you look at it from a Bandar Malaysia project basis, with the new ownership, Iskandar Waterfront, as you know, is 60% of the consortium. CREC is 40% of the consortium. Iskandar Waterfront, in turn, is 60% owned by Credence Resources and 40% owned by KPRJ, which is Johor State Government. So when you add the percentage ownership of each party in the Bandar Malaysia project, including 1MDB, you will see, and I've done the mathematics, so it's correct, the eventual ownership of the Bandar Malaysia project is 76% Malaysian and 24% CREC. Again, another way of looking at it is that the ownership of Bandar Malaysia is 54% federal and state government. So between 1MDB and KPRJ, we are 54% and 46% private sector. So from all the angles of looking at this, we believe this is a win-win partnership where ultimately it remains a Malaysian project with majority government, federal and state government ownership, but with all the benefits that a major private sector player such as Indah Waterfront and also CREC can bring to enhance the development of Bandar Malaysia.
马立先生，我想问一下，除了展现实力以外，中国高铁过去是否曾经有听闻过 1MDB 过去的一些负面的新闻，而且有没有做出一些风险的考虑
？Regarding this project, maybe 10 years ago, I think this is a good place and a good project. So once I consider this project, we needed to look for. I don't know what is about the One Malaysia, 1MDB. So this project, we just for stand our position, stand the project vision, stand the position of the government's economic transit. I understand it's good to my company. It's good to the Colombo, and it's also good to the Malaysia.
My first question was, what's the outstanding debt of 1MDB after the rationalization process? The second is, you've now awarded two major projects to Chinese companies. Was there any reason for that?
And do you think that the IWH and CREC have overpaid for the land value since 1MDB obtained it very cheaply from the government?
First, on the first question, that's 1MDB specific, and we've said we will do a separate session on 1MDB. But I think in terms of the rationalization plan, we have achieved what we set out to achieve. The IWH-CREC consortium is made up of both Malaysian and foreign partners. So on an overall basis, given IWH is 60% Credence Resource, 40% KPRJ, they are 100% Malaysian. The 40% partner of the consortium is CREC, and of course they're from China. But if you look at it from a Bandar Malaysia level, where 1MDB owns 40%, we are Malaysian. The effective ownership of the state government of Johor is 14%, 1-4. Yeah, so, and then the balance is IWH, leaving a Credence Resource, leaving 24% for the Chinese partner. So this is not a sale to a Chinese party. The company is 76%, or the project will be 76% Malaysian and 24% with partners from China. Now, what is important to emphasize is that we have run a public tender process for both the sale of Edra Energy initially, and I think the press would have followed each stage of that process, where we have shortlisted bidders and final bidders, etc. We ran a similar process for Bandar Malaysia sale. So we had 40 expressions of interest initially. From that, we shortlisted 4 parties, and then we had 2 final binding bids, from which we chose the consortium as our partner. So in both cases, and this is in relation to your second question, which is the valuation of the land. When we first announced the rationalization plan, we highlighted our objective of achieving land valuation of about 11 to 12 billion ringgit. So we have been very clear on what is the value of the Bandar Malaysia land, right? From day one. And I'm pleased to say that we managed to achieve a valuation of just above that at 12.35 billion.
This is what I want to inform everybody, that we see value in Bandar Malaysia through our experience with CREC. We do a very detailed study, and for us at IWH, we are, as you know, we are already in Iskandar Waterfront, which is already ongoing for the last few years. So we see the opportunity and we become very aggressive, I would say, why we are so aggressive on our price, to beat the 40 bidders, to become number one. Together with Mr. Chai here, we actually worked through the night to come up to this price. And if definitely we would have already done all our feasibility studies, and we see the opportunity to create a proper built new Kuala Lumpur city center for the people of Malaysia. And to us, why we are so aggressive is also because it's the link from Bandar Malaysia to Iskandar Malaysia with the high-speed rail. We will have already got the two city center linked with the high speed to Iskandar and to Singapore.
My first question would be, will the government Ministry of Finance pay the rest of 4.94 billion in future, in near future, or next year, or next year? Or another question would be, since you have earned a huge profit from this sale of 60% stake, will these profits pass to Ministry of Finance or remain as a profit in 1MDB?
On the first question, did Ben ask you to ask it? Because he tried asking the same question earlier. Again, as part of the rationalization plan, there was a discussion or an option that ultimately the assets of 1MDB will become standalone companies, right? So TRX will become a standalone company, Bandar Malaysia will become a standalone company, EDRA will become a standalone company, etc. That was what we had envisaged as part of the rationalization plan. So we then looked at the bids that we received for EDRA, and it made sense when we looked at the valuation as a whole for us to dispose 100%. But if you remember earlier in the rationalization plan, we thought we might retain 30%, right? So in the case of Bandar Malaysia and TRX, when the rationalization plan was announced, we stated that we would like to own 40% of each company. At this stage, with the success of EDRA, the sale of EDRA, we have decided to hold 40% of Bandar Malaysia, and at the moment we are still owning 100% of TRX. So from the time the rationalization plan was announced till today, given the success and the valuations that we've achieved, given the impact on our cash flows and our debt repayment, we have managed to reorganize how or what we sell and how much we sell. So I think that's conceptually an important point. So in relation to the 40% stake in Bandar Malaysia, at this stage, it's owned by 1MDB, but the option always remains, if it becomes a standalone company, for that stake to be owned by the MOF. How that stake gets transferred, what gets paid, etc., has not even been considered yet, because at this stage, it's still owned by 1MDB.
Arul, Jacob from AIP. Arul, could you briefly paint a picture if an investor is keen to invest in Bandar Malaysia? Could you highlight what are his gains and when will project take call for something like that?
That's a good question, in fact. As you know, when 1MDB first took over the land in 2012, 1MDB had the obligation to construct 8 new bases around the country, so 6 bases for the Air Force and 2 bases for the Royal Malaysian Police. And the vacant possession of the land, so although the titles are in the name of 1MDB, land titles are in our name, the vacant possession can only be achieved once the relocation of the 8 camps is completed. So we have to build the new camps, relocate them, only then do we get vacant possession. So the date for vacant possession, the current target, or the original target, I should say, was 1st of January 2017. That clearly has been delayed due to the challenges faced by 1MDB. And that is the biggest reason why we're bringing in a partner like IWH and CREC. Both have a very strong engineering and development background, and they will assist us to complete that remaining obligation under the PUKL relocation. So what will then happen is the master plan has been approved by DBKL on a conditional basis. With the new partners, with their expertise, they are going to bring in some additional enhancements and some additional concepts into the master plan. We will then resubmit for approval, and once that approval is obtained, then there will be a process of selling parcels of that land. Tan Sri has mentioned earlier, our major objective is to sell to Malaysian companies and to GLCs, and to invite additional development partners to participate. Of course, given one of 1MDB's objectives, which is to bring in foreign direct investment, we've achieved that partially with CREC, but we would also aim to market the Bandar Malaysia land through the expertise and contacts that IWH and CREC have to foreign international buyers.